So let's talk about what the schedule is. Everybody's playing in their home stadiums? Is that how it's going to work? And then I guess I've got a two-part question there. You could start, if you will, about the Blue Jays. Are they going to have a bubble? Because I can definitely see no contact, no flying into Canada and vice versa, that the Blue Jays are just going to have to come into the United States and stay for the duration from when July 1st hits all the way through to how long they last in the season.
So as of yesterday, this is per information that the union gave to player agents. The Blue Jays have asked their government, Canadian government, local government, whoever that might end up being, for permission to play in Toronto. And they're supposed to hear back today, maybe the next couple days, an end of the week type of thing. If they get approval on that, they're going to ask to play spring training in Toronto, and that would probably take another 5 or so days to get that approval. If they don't get that approval, they'll probably go to Dunedin, which is where they train normally down in Florida, and then the alternate training site, and this part actually, as a native New York State person,
yes,
they could end up in Buffalo. They could end up playing their spring training in Buffalo, spring training part 2. So that's kind of neat, I think, and that's where their AAA team is normally.
That's the stadium that Billy Crystal used to shoot 61, right, Evan?
I'm not sure, but I believe
no, it's a beautiful old school stadium in Buffalo, New York, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where they would camp out, and that's where they would have their games, huh? And you know what? I mean, that would make sense in terms of the Pirates visiting, the Phillies visiting, the Yankees visiting, the Red Sox visiting, the Mets visiting. I mean, that is a geographically sound location, one would think, right, for them to play there?
The East teams in this schedule are all at something of an advantage because they don't have to change time zones. You're playing only your division, your normal division within your league, and your division in the other league. So AL East plays NL East and AL East. The West teams are really kind of screwed in this regard because they're going to have to traverse 3 different time zones there, Central, Mountain, and West Coast. So it would make sense to have the Blue Jays in Buffalo if you needed to, but I don't want to make that a likelihood at this point because they're trying to do everything they can to stay in Toronto.
Right. So, okay. So the schedule would be what? Again, national and American mixed together. It's all one big geographical happy family. Is that the way it would work?
Yeah. East plays East in both leagues. Central plays Central. West plays West. And every team is going to play 10 games against its normal division. So AL East teams are playing 10 games against every other AL East team. So that ends up being 40 games. And then the other 20 games you're playing against the East in the other league, the National League, if you're an AL East team. And most of these series are going to be 3-game and 2-game series.
Okay. And then any doubleheaders or no?
It's looking unlikely that there will be scheduled doubleheaders. It doesn't mean that we won't end up having them because realistically, there's not going to be a lot of off days here. I think it's 60 games in 66 days is what they're attempting to pull off at this point. I just don't have that number in front of me. But basically, if you have a rain out or you have to reschedule something, particularly with all these teams likely to remain something close to contention, you're not going to have a ton of teams fall out of it, so you might need to get every game played. Mm-hmm. It's totally possible at some point you end up with a doubleheader.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.